we thought we'd been on the air for over a half hour, and we realized we're not. So this is going to be a short segment by us.
But look, we have been tremendously interesting, poignant, articulate. I'd say even more focused than usual. Would you guys agree?
I would
Yes.
agree. We were discussing extremely internal, personalized
We
family
were so
matters.
focused, y'all. It was hilarious.
You missed a good one, and you missed a lot of
Yeah.
news, but too bad we didn't
Okay,
record.
Uh-huh.
but
That's
yeah.
right. And we have Elliot Easton coming on the show from the Cars.
I guess it's just what we needed. Oh man,
Man.
the cars! I love the cars. I love
Not
Drive.
more than me.
I
You
love
guys
them
remember
as
the
kids.
80s in LA? Like when we were being
You
our little
might
band and the
think I
Cars was on the radio.
Oh man, they were rocking. They were rocking
They
the
were the
airwaves.
they were the first Shake It Up band, man. They
Look
were
how cute he is, too. I
Yeah.
remember his little face.
so we're gonna have Elliot on talk about being in the big time and selling 6 million albums out of the gate, being in the Rock and
Yeah.
Roll Hall of Fame, and
Yeah.
all that fun stuff. Okay, hey, but
Yeah.
real quick before he gets here, we do have yesterday, and I know this comes out in a couple of weeks, but we did have Record Store Day. The
Oh,
Yes.
I have a surprise about that.
Okay, the Rhythm of the World vinyl, green vinyl disc is out and floating through space for everybody to get, and you
It's
can't get it
amazing.
online.
Go
So
ahead,
where
Paul.
did Rachel find our merch girl on the Happy Together tour gang out there sent us a text yesterday, and she was so excited, and she was there with Rhythm of the World vinyl.
Yes,
And so where did she get it?
At a record store.
Oh, okay.
because Paul,
Yesterday, they appeared in all the record stores.
Oh,
So,
okay.
and this is the only time you go in store and buy albums. It's this day
Oh,
and twice a year, and that's this one. So she
okay.
got it at her local
yeah,
record
no,
store.
every single store in the US, anybody's got a record store in their
Yeah,
town, USA, has a
yeah.
record store day celebration we're having. We had it here. I didn't notice it because I was doing a lot of things, one of which, because of Record Store Day, I did wrangle the girls. I brought them back, but they're not.
Okay, what is she
Well,
talking
here's
about?
what happened. See why I was even late, but people don't even know that. Never mind. I don't have the girls. I have nothing to say except for that Rachel rocks to show us. Oh, and Peter Holzapfel also. Record Store Day, man. He
Oh,
takes
he
his
God,
found
yeah.
it.
children. There are humans. No, this is the truth. And these kids love it.
It's like
I
going to
see little
Disneyland.
Maggie Holzapfel with a yellow submarine 45, Yay,
Yeah.
look what I
Okay.
got today.
It's
Okay.
twice a
Yeah,
year.
yeah. And I think, go ahead.
Albums sell, and twice a year, apparently record players sell, or stereos, whatever, hi-fi,
Well, I'm
whatever
a
they
big
call
fan.
I
Mm-hmm.
bought one. I bought a record
it.
player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we have so record store, look for the album everywhere. Record Store Day, yay!
Everywhere.
What do we have to mention? St. Cloud, Minnesota. We're going to be at
And
Whitney Park, opening for Peter
Peter,
Newman, Herman's Hermits, Mrs.
yes,
Brown, Mr. Brown.
yes.
Does
Yes.
he have a podcast? Have we been on his podcast? Does he have one?
I don't know
Uh,
what.
the
We'll
answer
ask him though.
the answer is no,
Okay.
and we don't know.
Yep. But we played Westerly, Rhode Island this past weekend, and
That was amazing.
we had a ball, man. We had a Q&A, but there was a girl on called Kara, and she was on The Voice, where that is the show where the people turn around. And John
Cara
Legend turned,
McKee.
yeah, Clara McKee, and John Legend turned around for her. So I love the shows, So I'm desperate to find out the inside, and we're going to get
Yeah.
all the information from her.
No, she's
And
next week, correct?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, cool. She
She's
was
going to
one.
come
Go
up
ahead,
in
Bob.
a couple of weeks. We're way ahead on episodes. See, because what we're doing, guys, we're way ahead on episodes. We're almost done with May because we want to get the summer done before we leave, and we're going to do
As
it.
best we
Yeah.
can, as best we can. That's right.
Yeah, this tour is called HTT Snow Day 23.
Yeah, Snow Day 23. Absolutely.
And of course, the
Um,
Happy Together tour is going to be rocking your
Pushing hard on us, man. I can feel the push.
You know
Clearwater,
what I realized, guys?
Ruth Eckert,
Well,
May 31st.
Here's a Happy Together fun fact. We'll do a
Okay.
fun fact because Elliot will show up soon on account of our silliness earlier. But here's
oh
the
yeah.
fun fact. I look at the pictures of year in and year out, Happy Together. And what, 8 years? Are we coming up on our ninth or
Ninth.
our eighth?
Our ninth,
Ninth. This will be
Holy
ninth.
crap.
ninth
Yeah.
I mean,
summer.
we're almost gold watchables in a year from now. But
Yeah.
here's the thing. If I do not change my outfit every picture of the whole crew, not just you guys, it's all of us. The Happy Together has a uniform. The men
Yes, we
of
do.
Happy Together have a uniform. They've had the same uniform, the white coats, Mr. Puckett and his jacket, which we love, all these things. But I did a little bit of a look back, and I am the only one changing every summer. And if I did not, it'd be Groundhog Day visual of all, except for Mark's been rotating those beautiful shirts for 9 years.
Yes.
So I'm just saying, it's just a little fun fact observation that I need to go shopping. What?
That makes all the sense in the world to me, because with the guys like me and Paul, we found out, bring 3 outfits. We can rotate them through the summer. Just store them for the winter like a bear hibernating. Let's bring them back, use them for the next summer, use them for the next summer, use them for the next summer. And it's like when you go shopping, you see a shirt, you're like, oh, good, there's 4 colors of it. I'm done.
Well, the other thing that we have to remember, Bob and Susan, is that I don't honestly know if our demographic, if our crowds are coming in for their concert going, man, look at these guys are wearing the same freaking suits. What's up with that? I don't, I mean, look at the association. I mean, they're pretty hard to forget, because they've got either white or black.
And also, they can sit there and say, hey, look, they're wearing the same freaking suits. And we could look at them and go, who are you to talk? This is your 9th year sitting and listening to the same freaking songs.
I'm not saying we're getting flack from anybody.
Here. I think we like it.
Yeah.
I think we like the same.
I need to go get a couple. Look, now look, I wore bell bottoms for 7 years. Bell bottoms. Then I got shorts a couple of years ago, and I'm running the shorts, but I do have to get new shirts, or it'll be the same thing for 3 years. Just trust me on this one, guys.
One last thing, Susan.
Yes.
You changed every summer. You have to. You're the girl. You got a couple of Henry Winklers to the left and right of you. No one's looking at us, but if you change it up, it looks like we changed it up. It does. It looks like we changed it up if you change it up.
Hey, Susan.
So funny. What?
Susan, what's funny is when I was looking for fun facts, in realms, and I went into the sibling thing, and it was just what we just did right there. They always talk about that too. It's like
you're gonna have to share.
Just that, the changing of clothes. It's like you had so many brothers. For you to get all doll faced up and looking like you're rocking the 9s is probably not going to come out of your body. You're going to have to force that out because you had so many brothers. That's what it said.
They say that in sibling fun. That's an observed reality about us.
It's pretty much an observed reality. You will take on the gender of your siblings above you. And
we had an extra thing in our family. In that with 7 kids, and so much trouble could be lurking anytime, any minute. You wanted to blend. Okay, so we got 6 guys and 1 girl. Who's going to blend with who?
For sure. But to the point of the psychological evaluation aspect, that fun fact, Mr. Hooter Blowfish Boy here is coming with. The truth is, I can remember, like at least 3 incidences of me waking up one day going, God dang, and I'm getting older, and I'd like to, and coming down in anything other than one of your shirts and a pair of jeans was like, what in the hell? You guys never let a second go by. I mean, I just turn around and go right back up. One time at the Halladin Hall house, and you will not remember this, Mom had a powder puff on the back of her toilet. It was a powder puff for good smells. Grandma had them. You pick up the thing. It's this white thing. It's
I remember it.
Okay. So Mom had it on the back of her toilet. And I just felt like I should do something girly at Halladin. So I went in and I got Mom's thing and I puffed it on my face. And I came down to breakfast, and you guys just destroyed me. And I didn't know. I'm sitting there with this big white puffs on my face, and you guys are going, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I start screaming and crying, and Mom's looking at me. What have you done? I can smell the powder. So I'm just saying, I never wore makeup again.
That's funny.
That name, Elliot Easton. We're staring
Paul, I want to hear how these facts next when we have Miss Cara McKee on next week.
We'll start our part of the show on time next week.
Elliot Easton, one name. And
Elliot's coming in.
What we need is a no guest show. We'll do that soon too, and then we can cover all this.
Hi, Elliot.
Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hi,
That's our
Great to
brother
Paul.
s-
Hi,
Paul.
Hi,
Bob.
Elliot. Great to see you. Gosh, I've been loving, when we have a guest on, we don't want to miss things. And I was watching you, and gee, you're just great. You're just great, and your stories are incredible, and your voice is soothing. I spent all night with you on your conversations, and I realized at the end of it. I'm sorry, guys, for taking over here, but I got to get this out.
Okay,
And
go,
so
Paulie, go.
I'm watching Elliot do this thing, and I realized to myself, you better know how to at least play a guitar before you go into his conversations, because he's talking about harmonizing two strings together, or you're not going to get it what he's after, whether it's the
Wow.
steel guitar. So just loved all those conversations.
Where did you find that?
I'm just on YouTube, it's just they're like a minute and a half, they're five
Oh,
minutes, and you're breaking it down like me and you. I'm sorry, guys, for keep going here, but I got to get this out because I might not. But me and you have our love for the Goldbergs. When I heard you love that, and the way you talked about that show is the way I think of it too. It's like so silly, but it's so funny and so kind of real. So anyway,
As you can
I love you, man. I love
as you
you.
can
That's all
all
I want to
tell
say.
as you can all tell by now, Paul came of age with the Cars, and
Yeah.
and this is good stuff,
I
man.
hadn't thought about that, but he is that would make sense.
I was 23 when we made the first Cars record.
What year
Wow.
was that, Elliot?
We made it in the winter of 77 and it came out spring 78.
Oh,
But,
such
Wow.
but
amazing
I was
years.
born, I was born, I was born in 53, so I'm definitely a 60s kid.
You
Yeah.
are, yeah.
Well,
So I
you know
came, I
what?
Children,
came of age during the Cowsills.
Yeah,
I'm seeing that, Elliot.
Okay, so since you got us back to that part, we just went back 4 decades, I think. This is so
we
fun.
did.
Anyway, Susan, would you just like get to the beginning here so we can get him
I
going?
would love that, Bob. Thank you
Good
very
stuff.
much. Elliot, I always kick off our podcast, and
Let me
I
do
always like to say hello and welcome officially from the Cowsill Podcast because it seems like the thing to do. And then to say, okay, Elliot Easton, the Cars, we all know and love. It is exciting. Like the guys say, we get excited. I mean, this is a big deal to us.
Ellie, it's just what we needed. Okay.
Yes. And so, however, okay, so Guitar Jones and just, rock God and all the life you've lived. You're born in Jersey, right? You got a mom in
No, I was born in Brooklyn.
Brooklyn.
Then, and then from age 3 to 6, I lived in Forest Hills, Queens.
Okay.
And then we moved. And then we made the great suburban migration to Long Island. Long Island, Massapequa, Long Island, right near Jones Beach.
Oh, I'm very familiar.
Yes.
I don't know how I got you in Jersey, but nonetheless, that's not pertinent.
No, South Shore, Long Island.
All right, all right.
Nice.
So, all right, you're in South Shore, Elliot, and you're born, and you got a mom and a dad, and you're, I don't know, 3 years old. Are you sitting there going, I think I would love to be a electric guitar rock god in the 80s. So I'm going to start now. Or did young Elliot have other ideas of stuff he wanted to do? What kind of work did your folks do? Did they encourage their line of work? Were they musical? How did little Elliot become Elliot Easton, who we can barely keep our shit together talking to?
Oh, geez. Well,
Come on,
I'll
you
tell
got
you,
that.
Mom was a Juilliard trained singer
Oh, there you
who
There you go.
had her own radio show. Yeah. And had her own radio show as a teenager in New York.
Okay.
You could have those radio shows and entertained, up in the Catskills and did all that kind of stuff and made some records. And exposed me to great music at a really young age, like starting with Gershwin and some of the better classical stuff, and she loved, she was kind of like a Rosie Clooney kind of singer. She was a really good pop singer and had a stage mother from hell who would give her pills to stay up at night and then more pills to get up to go to school in the morning. And she just grew to hate it. So when she got married and just gave it all up, but she always sang around the house and always sang her whole life and was incredible. So anyway, going back, so in Brooklyn, we had my first home was in Brooklyn until I was 3 years old. And some of you guys will remember the earliest days of television when there wasn't even 24-hour programming. And I'd sit there and watch the test pattern with the Native American.
Same here. Big fan of the test pattern in the Cowsill house.
Yeah.
Keep going.
But then eventually, but eventually, either Roy Rogers or the Mickey Mouse Club show would probably come on. And there were guitars in both of them. Jimmy Dodd, the host of the
We're big Mouseketeer kids.
He had the mouse guitar.
Yes.
Just, like a modified Martin to look like it had the mouse ears.
The ears, yep.
Christmas guitar.
So of course I got the plastic one of those. And something happened in 1956. I somehow got to see Elvis Presley on television. It must have been like Ed Sullivan.
It had to be Ed, yeah.
Or the Dorsey brothers, even one of the really like early appearances.
Oh, wow. You mean early Elvis. Okay.
Yeah, one of the first TV appearances in 56 when he had gone national. And I immediately got a glass of water and a comb. And I brought it to my mother and had to comb my hair in the DA in the back with the waterfall and I've got my Mickey Mouse guitar. We had a little credenza in the living with a mirror, and I'm just standing there and I'm checking myself out. So I'm like, rocking at 3.
Okay, so but see, go Bob.
I'm sorry. Your mother was very she combed your hair back. I mean, our dad, we went up to our dad with that glass of oil. He'd have thrown it in our face and said, get back. I mean, your mom's combing your hair. That is awesome to me.
Yeah, it was hilarious. We have pictures of it, which I love. If I had a way to share it here, I would, but I have no idea how to do that. But and then the other half of it was my dad was not musical at all, but loved riding and loved country music and like watched. Remember that period where there were like 20 Westerns on television every week.
We watched Cowsills, big Western fans in our house.
Right. So he watched them from Gunsmoke to Rawhide.
Wagon Train.
Have Gun Will Travel, Wagon Train, all of them. High Chaparral. So
Cisco. Pancho.
Early, yeah.
And Cisco, I love the Cisco Kid.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, every Halloween I was Zorro because I thought it was so cool. The all black outfit. Even then, I wanted to look cool.
You're right. Man, so you joined the right band, Elliot. You were so ready for the cars. So what's cool is my original question to you is coming out. No, I planned on being that guy in the Cars from the time I was 3. I love that. Not everybody has that answer. So that's great.
Well, I didn't really plan on being that guy in the Cars. I would have been less surprised if I was that guy in the band, to be honest, or Moby Grape. I mean,
okay.
When did you pick up your first guitar and get beyond
the mouse guitar?
On the Mouseketeer guitar.
Oh, I guess I was got serious around 9. And I got a little better guitar and started learning how to play like things like Wipeout and stuff, just pre-Beatles, like the surf stuff, Walk Don't Run and things like that. I tried to play that stuff.
Did you have your Beatle epiphany like the rest of us, or were you like in some other world, or did that hit you hard like the rest of us?
Oh my God, where to begin? Where to begin? First of all, living in New York, and they were landing in New York. So I'm listening to my transistor radio, and it's like, well, they're over Greenland now, and they'll be landing at JFK in 2 hours.
WINS,
yeah. It was so exciting, and the first night they played on the Ed Sullivan Show. What was that? February 9th, 1964, and I never got to sleep that night. My whole body was vibrating.
Wow.
Aww.
I was like galvanized, and I tossed and turned, and was like, I don't want to say like I saw my future, but something happened as it was like,
palpable,
that Wizard of Oz black and white to Technicolor moment. It was just like, wow.
Yeah.
It definitely was. Everything changed after that. I can't overstate it. Even I remember the next day on Monday morning getting on the school bus. And you know how if you guys took school buses to school, you'd be bullies and jerky people who wouldn't let you sit in the same bench as them and stuff like that. But that Monday after the Ed Sullivan Show, the whole bus was singing "I Want to Hold Your Hand."
Yeah, it was a connector.
People who wouldn't even talk to each other the day before.
Well, that's one experience. And then there's the experience my brother Paul had, which was the cute
where I went to that bus stop on that Monday, and I realized that all the girls that were talking to us every day at the bus stop were no longer interested in us at all. And that's kind of what hit me, because I was in the 7th grade.
Look, they could have been singing along the whole time, but he was not noticing that.
You probably just had to grow your hair out a little bit.
Well, here's what we did. We did the same thing on the same days you're doing that. We're in Middletown, Rhode Island, and we're putting butch wax down, and we're like putting our hair down. Our dad's going, "What's with the hair?"
Same day.
The threat the Beatles.
Same day.
Right, haha. But again, same kind of, we were folk singers at the time.
My yearbook picture, my parents thought my hair was too long. They didn't even want prints of my yearbook picture because my hair was long.
Yay! You reached it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so come to the dark side.
All right, so listen. So you're 9 years old when you get a real guitar. You put the Mouseketeer guitar down. You pick up a real one. When, of course, bands are coming. You're full tilt. You're not going to be a garbage man or a fire chief. Let's roll, Elliot. So what, do you get a band? What do you do? How do you make it real?
Eventually. I mean, at first, of course, all you do is just sit on the edge of your bed and just try to learn how to play and just try to pick out what you can. Yeah. But then when you put 3 chords together, you can play 1,000, 10,000 songs. And so you get the idea to try to play with some friends and stuff. So eventually I got a really inexpensive Japanese guitar, and I'm left-handed, and it was a right-handed guitar. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Wow. It was one of those. It was one of those guitars. Remember, in department stores, there'd be like a record department, and they'd have a couple of electric guitars. Mm-hmm. And when my mother would go shopping at department store, I'd always go right to the record department because I couldn't bear to watch her shop clothes. I'd throw myself on the floor like weeping. So I'd go to the record department, and it was one of those cheapo guitars, and eventually worked out that I had to turn the strings around for left hand, and took it to a mom and pop shop in my town, and they turned the strings around for me and refiled the slots and all that.
Okay, because we were wondering if you flipped the guitar like Hendrix, or if you got it restrung. You went restrung.
Well, Hendrix restrung also. He played in a lefty, arrangement, only on a right-handed guitar.
Around for fun, I guess.
So,
okay.
Yeah, but his low E string was still up by his chin,
Oh,
okay.
Interesting.
So I found that really limiting to try to play upside down with the strings righty. So I had that turned around, and then eventually I got it when I could get a job. I got a job washing dishes in a little restaurant in my town, and saved up for and custom ordered a left-handed Fender Telecaster guitar.
Wow,
and,
that's a
because all my heroes were playing tellies, like from Jesse Ed Davis to Robbie, Amos Garrett, James Burton, all the Bakersfield guys, Roy Buchanan.
What restaurant were you washing dishes at, Elliot? I have to know.
It was called La Crepe, where you could order like all these different kind of fillings on a crepe.
Yeah. And did you run a Hobart machine back there? The Hobart dishwashing thing? Or
no, I only wish. I was washing dishes by hand under a sudsy sink, and some of these crystal glasses would break and cut my hands up. And I think, what the hell am I doing? I'm working to get money for a guitar, and I'm cutting my hands to ribbons. So
you're a long way from the Hall of Fame, but you're gonna get there.
I like it though. It's awesome. It's awesome.
I was kind of quiet about it, and then in high school I put a band together, and we won like all the Battle of the Bands county-wide and all that stuff, and we were getting known. But I was kind of quiet about it. And then with the senior variety show, I put a little blues band together, and we played some songs for the senior variety show in high school. And like everybody was like, who are you? They were completely shocked. Like my guidance counselor looked at me funny. Like,
Yeah.
You could do this. Now, are you
Yeah,
playing lead guitar? Is your focus lead guitar here now from the get-go?
yeah, I would. I mean, I didn't really separate lead or rhythm, just guitar.
Oh.
Okay, cool.
Because I mean, I come from that school. I mean, I love like a guy like Steve Cropper. I could just sit on a chord all day long and be happy as a clam, just grooving.
Oh, okay.
You know.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're high schooling and they're going like, who knew you could be so talented? That's a good reaction.
Were you a
I
good
don't think
student?
they didn't even know I played guitar. I think they were just like, "What?"
Were you athletic? Were you a good student? Were you a brainiac? Were you a nerd? Were you a cool kid?
I was a radical left-wing hippie,
Woo!
Okay.
Wasn't expecting that.
With
I mean, I
a
wasn't
guitar
expecting
strapped
anything.
on.
and there were with the vice principal there were anti-Semitic overtones to it, and he called us. Yeah, well, you got to figure, this is Long Island.
Yeah.
He called us the Greenwich Village clique.
Yeah.
But dig this, man. The town I grew up in, it's called Massapequa, and it was all Jews and Italians. So we called it Matza Pizza.
Hey, y'all guys, didn't we play Massapequa recently?
Well, my twin brother lived there for years. We know
Oh,
Massapequa.
that's it. That's why I know it well.
He had the little dock and the boat and the.
Okay, so you're shocking your people. You're starting to understand you're pretty damn good, obviously, if people are reacting like this.
Well, I've never, I've always been really humble about it and always insecure about it and wanted to just get better. But it was like a little shocking. It was like I was at a hamburger joint and some kid said, "Hey, didn't you play the Battle of the Bands?" And I'm like, "Whoa!" It was like the first time being recognized as like for playing guitar, and someone saw me play, and I was like,
Yeah.
I could get used to this. This is kind of cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting too, because Ed Sullivan did that for all of us, having the Beatles on. The people that wanted to be the Beatles, that happened, but also the people that saw the Beatles and realized, wow, look at this band. Now they're seeing bands all over their towns, and people are going, oh yeah, they got a band before, as far as like, they've gotten taken into the whole music scene themselves, just people who want to watch music.
And little people like us from Newport, Rhode Island, are on Ed Sullivan one night. We walk across the street. Next thing you know, oh, aren't you? I'm like, what the hell? It's
Well, yeah. I mean, television. That's a whole other thing.
Yeah, because
even now, I mean, if you're on television, there's sort of this magic aura around people. But back then, it was like you were like, whoa, I saw you on television.
I mean, but there is that pinnacle moment where you go from just knowing you do what you do to everybody else finding out what you do. Either it in your hometown where you're like, oh my God, I mean, it's a thing, and it changes.
You won the Battle of the Bands.
It's the same thing. Ed Sullivan and Battle of the Bands is all the same.
Yeah. It goes from being a little private thing to like all of a sudden the whole world knows about it.
And I think it's cool.
And that inspired mixed emotions in me. I mean, I thought maybe like you guys did, that if I could just make a record, everything in my life would be fixed. Everything would be good.
Yeah. Wow.
Shirley, I think when you're our age, and embarking on this record company, this life of, that's certainly what it looks like.
Yeah, and it's like the keys to the kingdom. And if I could,
Bob, what do you got? I don't want you to lose your thought.
No, about that, about releasing those records and putting those out. I'm just saying. Well, see, now I lost my thought about.
That's why I like to get. We're at an age where if one of us has a thought, I'll put them, and I hope somebody does it for me.
Hey, I've already had an edible today, so I'm just, counting
Dude,
myself.
microdosing rocks. All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Edible. All right, so look,
What's the launching pad from Long Island into
different level.
hooking up with musicians you're going to do something serious with?
Well, I went to college in Boston, to Berklee College of
Yeah.
Music. Um,
These Berkeley
and
people, they're everywhere.
yeah,
It actually works. Who knew?
who knew? They say everybody who graduates stays there and teaches, and anybody who's any good gets a gig and leaves.
Yeah.
That's the
College.
That's the kind of
Sounds like baseball players.
but that got me in Boston, and that's where I met all the guys in the cars. Of course, much years later, I got to Boston 71, 72. Met those guys around 76. What happened was Rick and Ben and Greg were in a band called Richard and the Rabbits, and my roommate, who you guys might remember, may rest in peace, A.K. Alan Kaufman. Anybody remember A.K.?
His name is familiar. We didn't know him.
He did like the China Club jams and all kind of different.
Something about my 80s Twilly time says AK. Go ahead.
He was my roommate, and he answered an ad in the Boston Phoenix for a sound man for this band, Richard and the Rabbits.
Wow.
And having nothing to do that night, I just went along with them. And it turned out to be a Warner Brothers party for Foghat at a roller skating rink.
What did you walk into?
It's just one of those things, like it's like the Beatles story. If you change one thing, it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
And so I saw this band, Richard and the Rabbits, and I was struck by the fact, first of all, that it was the first band I'd seen, a local band that I'd seen, that were writing original songs that weren't crap, that I could actually imagine being records. Because, you see local bands, they go, oh, we're going to play an original now. And it's just like, crap.
Go to the bathroom. Yeah.
But it was Rick's songs, and they were good. I didn't think the band quite focused the right way on interpreting them. And I thought I remember having that thought that I know what to do with these songs.
Cool.
So anyway, that band broke up, and Rick and Ben started playing as a duo in a little pub in Harvard Square called the Idler, and AK, still doing sound for them, also liked to play percussion. So it was only two vocal mics and two guitars, a guitar and a bass. So once he got that set, he'd go up on stage and play congas with them. And all this time he kept hyping me, saying, you got to see my roommate play guitar. And blah, 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 blah. And overhyping me. And if you knew Alan, you knew he was overhyping me way. So eventually they decided to put another band together out of that duo of just Ocasek and Orr. And I got my chance to play with those guys. And what happened, I went to Ben's apartment in Somerville, across, Cambridge, and I brought my guitar and I sat down, and Ben sitting across from me like this. He goes, okay, play something amazing.
I've heard a lot about you. Play me. Yeah.
He literally said, play something amazing.
Oh my God.
Oh, no pressure.
I just went, ooh. I couldn't do anything. So eventually we relaxed and, got friendly and did some playing, and Rick came over and we played some songs and stuff, and it was all great. And that became a band called Captain Swing.
Okay.
And that band contained Rick, Ben, and myself, while Greg went off to become one of Martin Mull's Fabulous Furnitures.
Oh, okay.
And,
Well, Martin,
do you know about that?
No.
Susan looks confused. Martin Mull, the comedian, used to tour musically, and his band was called Fabulous Furniture. So anyway,
great.
But
who knew?
Who knew?
But not Martin Mull, like from Adam 12.
No, that's Martin Milner.
Milner, yeah.
Okay.
Susan, Martin Mull, you know who this person is.
Wait,
you just don't have
the guy from Mary Hartman.
Yes.
Yes.
Did
I do it? Did I get there? Did I crawl back in the resources of my
All right, so
Yeah.
you got Rick O'Casey.
There
You got
He's the
you got
not Steve
Orr,
Martin.
Yes.
I got him. I got him, guys. Thank you, Polly.
You got-
Everybody helping me out
so you
there.
got Ben Orr, Elliot Easton, Rick
Martin
O'Casey
Mull.
rocking out as Captain Swing. This is
Yeah,
great.
the keyboard player who eventually now plays with Government Mule, and a different drummer. And the drummer was playing like fusiony, like too much stuff. And anyway, we had this band, and we went down to a famous club in New York City, Max's Kansas City, to do a showcase for management companies because we were getting a buzz in Boston.
Nice.
Our little 2-track demo tape of Captain Swing was in heavy rotation on WBCN, the big rock station in Boston.
Yes.
And so people were paying it. So we went down to New York, and we did this showcase for Lieber and Krebs, who had Aerosmith, and
Oh boy,
Bill O'Coin, who was managing Kiss at the time. And all these goofballs. I don't know who they were. But anyway, we played, and they kind of gave us some constructive feedback. They said we had a different bass player. Ben wasn't playing bass at the time. He was singing lead, and his wife had made him these horrible chiffon karate gis. And so he was wearing like this little belted, like pajama jacket, and like, and like sneakers. And the bass player looked like a roadie for the Dead. He had alembic bass and like big alembic cabinet. Rick looked like he should be in the Velvet Underground. It was all over the map. And they told us so. And they said, the songs are really good, but they really need to be more concise. The solos kind of go on a bit. It's a little jammy. There's no real discernible image. You got to get some kind
you
of
are talking record label if I ever heard it in my life.
And we went back. So we went back to Boston with our tails between our legs, and we took all that stuff to heart and applied it, and immediately got rid of the Grateful Dead bass player and the Billy Cobham drummer,
leaving the house,
and got Greg back in, and David Robinson from the Modern Lovers came and joined us. And so that was the Cars, and that was a more unified thing. And we finally got it right.
Well, may I ask how Mark Mullen? I'm sorry. Did Mark Mullins? Why is he not in the Cars?
Martin Mull.
Martin Mull, right?
Comedian.
No, he lured George.
He's got a career.
They got George back now.
Okay.
Yeah, he was making movies and doing all kinds of stuff.
It was just a little busman's holiday for him.
For Greg was actually playing sax with Martin.
Well, look at that. Okay. Like you said, everything connected. Go ahead, Polly.
Elliot,
go.
Well, the showcase, I have some questions about the showcase because we've been there. Okay, we have been there, and we were constantly going, God, how do we get all these people together? And back then, they devised these ways. Well, we went to SIR and rented a nice room there, and then we had this showcase. Now, at first, everybody was telling us, and we were going, man, we don't want to do a showcase, but we had some success, and now we were this new group of people, but we had a bad attitude about it. But then it was like it was nerve-wracking, really, because you're really giving these guys the hatchet, and you're laying it up there, and they can chop it off if they want. It was so, and you guys actually got the nose we got. You got good criticism. You used that criticism. And so you guys, were you aware how important this showcase was going to be?
Question.
Not at the time, but in the aftermath, it was crucial because after that, we changed the name. David Robinson, our drummer, was sort of the graphic talent in the band.
God, the artsy guy.
He was, and he always worked with the art department, the label on the covers, and he came up with that sort of license plate logo.
Nice.
And we talk about consolidating image. Now we were broke. I mean, just before that, I was probably collecting food stamps. I was at one point. I was really poor. So how do you get your image together when you have no money to buy any clothes? So we just went with black, because with black jeans and a black T-shirt,
you're looking good.
It looked like a band,
Yeah.
And so eventually, black and white, and so that's what we wore. And then David, we were all trying to come up with band names, and the Cars Here
Oh, you're all cute as
There they
you
are, black and
can.
white.
we
Okay,
are.
the band name.
The Cars was a good name. Well, first of all, we couldn't imagine why nobody had used it before. It was that period when all the bands were the this, the that, the this, the that.
Right,
But,
right.
but as far as cars, like it seemed like rock and roll was so much about cars and girls and
Well,
fun,
it worked. Yeah.
and so nobody had ever used cars,
Yeah.
and on top of that, it was just four letters, so you could put it really big on the marquee and on the T-shirt.
Yeah.
Like U2, it's just two things. You could put it huge. So the
Right.
cars
Right.
was four letters, and so on the marquees, you could use the biggest letters.
No,
Yeah,
it was
nice.
very impressive.
Worked
Okay,
out.
now
And
you're,
can I tell you something? So we started getting a lot of popularity in Boston, and our demo tape of I think Just What I Needed and Best Friend's Girl maybe. Our angel disc jockey at WBCN, her name was Maxanne Sartori, and she put us in heavy rotation, and it was getting reported in the Gavin report and like the
Oh,
Wednesday
the Gavin.
Morning Quarterback.
Wow.
It was
gaining
getting
life.
reported in these tip sheets as a demo. So you know how those things go. You'd
Mhm.
see all like the major markets, what they're playing, and then the secondary markets, and then the tertiary, and they'd look at what the big markets were playing, so they would know what to play and what to get
Right.
on. So in Boston, on a particular week, say in '77, it might say, I don't know, Aerosmith, Get Your Wings, Columbia, um, Elton John, Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, Rocket, MCA, The Cars, Just What I Needed, tape. And
Oh,
yeah,
No company.
and it was getting
wow.
reported, and that was getting reported nationally,
Look what
and
you could
all
do
the
back
A&R
then.
people subscribed to those radio tip sheets.
Yeah, yeah.
So they're like, well, what the hell's going on in Boston? So they started coming up to Boston and checking us out,
Nice.
and that's kind of how it happened.
I have a
Wow.
question. Is the recording that they're playing in Boston off the demo of You Just What I Needed? You're not going to re-record that as the Cars. That was the recording that we all would love.
It was just a live 2-track demo.
Oh, so you're going to take it in. Boy, I'd love to hear that.
You can hear it on the Cars Anthology
Okay.
collection on Rhino.
Man.
Next time I see you, I'll give you one.
So you
Nice.
so
You guys
you
are all BFF'd up
right
here.
now who's running your business? Who's taking the calls that's going to come from Electra? Who's getting it on the radio station? What's going on in your operation?
Yeah, who did the showcase?
Yeah.
Well, early on, we had a manager named Fred Lewis, who was like a Warner Brothers promotion guy.
Oh,
And
okay.
he kind of took it as far as he could. We would get our first album was out and it was selling like hotcakes, and he was getting phone calls and offers from all over the world, and he didn't even have a secretary, and
Wow.
he just wasn't dialed in right.
Ready for
And
success.
so
Yeah.
it's kind of the straw that broke the camel back moment was we got invited to host the midnight special, and we're over there on the sound stage, and we needed some managerial advice on a decision had to be made, and he was out on Melrose looking for cowboy boots.
Oh.
Oh,
So we go to Elliot's office, and he's in jeans with cowboy boots with his feet up on his desk, smoking a big fat doobie.
Oh my God.
And
You're
Neil
home.
Young had spray painted on the wall, "Rest never sleeps," and we said, "We're home, yeah, we're
Yeah.
home."
We're home.
And so,
Awesome.
well, after and I like Shep a whole lot, and have
Yeah, he's a good
been
guy.
to his restaurant in Hawaii
Yes.
and socialized with him. And I used to love Carlos and Charlie's when he was a part owner of that. That
Yep,
was awesome.
Good tuna. The good tuna salad,
tuna,
the casserole,
the
or dip. What
shrimp.
was it? Yeah.
I love the
Jeff was
shrimp.
a nice guy.
Very
Dwight,
nice guy.
he was going to manage Dwight for a minute. So we sat down and talked about comic books, which Dwight actually
Yeah.
thought would be fun.
Well, Rick was a very shy, introverted guy. And he was never one of those guys, "Hello, Cleveland," and "Are you ready to rock?" He was very
Yeah, yeah.
shy and wasn't
Oh,
really all that comfortable on stage.
Mhm. Or in his own body,
Awkward.
even.
Yeah, so the idea of being like a comic book superhero or
Yeah.
that sort of thing, just I
So
don't-
Elliot, take
Really
us
thought
to
it'd be
the
great.
take us through the leap. You guys are going to shoot I mean, you're going to do 6 million on an album kind of out of the gate. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're going to take us to the leap to stardom because it was amazing.
Wow. Well, probably, the first thing that comes to mind was that it was sort of an "is that all there is" moment. Like
Ah.
I thought it was going to fix everything in my life, and I still went home alone. And some of
And
the
you
guys,
weren't dancing.
all of them were either married or had girlfriends, and I was completely alone. And I was like, well, this didn't fix that. And
There's a
so that was
Carly
kind
Simon song called Legend in Your Own Time that speaks of this very thing.
or how about Peggy Lee? Is that all there is?
Yeah,
Is
is
that
that
all
all
there
there
is
is,
to
my
the
friends?
circus?
Just keep
So how old
dancing.
were you when you hit that? Because that's important
23,
as far as who
23.
you.
I was
Ooh,
20.
that's a hard time to hit a moment like that.
It was.
Yeah,
But it was really exciting. There was plenty to keep my mind occupied. And so
a lot though.
that whole first year was sort of a combination, probably like you remember, like we play larger gigs opening for a bigger act, and we play smaller venues headlining.
Yeah,
And eventually that would shift to where we started headlining the bigger acts, the bigger venues.
sure.
Um, but being on the road all the time, you don't really get a sense of like people listening to the record, you know what I mean? Or that,
Yeah.
Right.
and or especially like when MTV came out and like you were in everybody's home and stuff, and like television came into it, and and so there was
Big
that
time.
recognition.
Well, was
But
that something new you guys dealt with as a band? Because the cars are going to be on the kind of the front of where you got to think about videos now. You got to think
MTV, the
about what you
early
look
80s.
yeah,
like.
Yeah.
We didn't have that.
yeah,
Our TV shows were our video.
no. Well,
So,
the guys that founded it, Bob Pittman and John Sykes, actually came to Boston to meet with us to tell us about this station and what it was
Oh,
going to be, and they weren't going to pay for the videos, and the record companies were going to pay for it, and it's going to be this incredible thing, and it was, I
mhm.
we all have our feelings about how it took away your imagination from listening to the radio and set an image in your mind that you might
right.
necessarily not
People
have.
of our generation
Right.
definitely.
Yeah, I mean,
Sure.
it's like I prefer to imagine what the song picture is
Mhm.
than have it
Yeah.
spelled out in a little movie. But you had to
Right.
do them. If you had a single, you made a video in those years,
Yes, yeah.
Yep.
and
So
so
that was
that
always
was
assumed that you were going to do that. The other
yeah.
thing I wanted to know personally about was regarding the song Drive. When you guys are kind of got established, like Rick was the lead singer, kind of we all accepted that. It was like, it was just going to be, Rick in the Cars eventually. It was like that kind of frontman status. But then as a fan, when Drive came and Ben Orr is going to sing Drive, I was just wondering, was that something that had to be discussed, or was that song just made for Ben and there was no issue? Because Rick was going to step aside, kind of, wasn't he? Or was it any egos at play here?
None whatsoever. Rick and Ben had been playing in bands since '68.
Oh,
They
that's so
had
nice.
they had a record with the band was called Milkwood for ABC Paramount, and it didn't make
Mhm.
it. The Cars was probably going to be their last try, to be honest with you. And you're going way up to our fifth album with Drive. Ben sang Just What I Needed. Ben sang
I
Moving
didn't
in
know that.
Stereo. He
Wow,
sang
yeah.
Moving in Stereo. He sang Let's Go. He sang like half the hits all along. They would just divvy them up between them. And
Uh-huh.
Rick always jokingly, but seriously too, said, any of the songs that needed a really good voice, I'd give to Ben. And 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 then Rick had his sort of talking, singing, Lou
Yeah.
Reed kind of thing that he did.
Can I
But
ask then how, because I didn't know that. I did know that about that song, Drive.
because their voices are similar, so it could fool you.
And didn't the machine promote Rick Moore as the lead? I mean, I never even thought of another guy until later, and then that's not even Rick singing Drive, but I had no clue. So
That was yeah. That's the downside
image, I guess.
of management.
Okay.
Rick was absolutely groomed as the leader of the band, and
Successfully. Yeah,
yeah, but to the frustration of other members,
of
particularly
course.
Ben, who Ben kind of considered himself his partner for years and years.
Right, right.
And can I ask, this is important, please, because I have friends who've dealt with this kind of thing. So was Rick the reluctant guy that they were pushing, and he's going, I'm not trying to do this. It's just or was he, yeah, I dig this, and we got to do what they say. Where was he personally on that, if you don't mind?
You want the truth?
Well, I want what you want to answer that you're comfy with. But yeah, I want the truth.
He was very comfortable. He was very comfortable being the focal point and like the main man and the guy to go. Even to the point, people say to me, I get this a lot. Like you're one of the most underrated guitar players. I feel pretty rated. I'm not like uptight about it. But I was never marketed as one of these guitar hero kind of guys. I never did that. And not that I particularly wanted to do that, but certain things in my career were killed by certain people because they didn't want me to get bigger than the band.
Oh my.
I made a film. There was a woman in Boston did documentaries called Cars, Guitars, and Elliot Easton. And she made this film, and Elliot killed it, and they lost their money, and there were other things that happened. I don't want to,
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to.
God rest his soul. But stuff was done to kind of. Peter Frampton called me right after his live album, like the biggest album of all time. And he called me at the Sunset Marquee when it was still a funky hotel, and you had to call Dukes for breakfast. And Peter Frampton called and said, I hear in your playing that we might be compatible. Would you like to come and have a play with me at my rehearsal? Maybe you could play on my new record. And I told Elliot about it. He said, no, you can't do it. It wouldn't be good for your career. And he was like, shit like that happened. So I'm not complaining.
What is this? The 60s? You're supposed to pretend you don't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend too?
This is what I'm trying to say. And there were other darker things, but when people say you're so underrated and this and that, it's not really an accident.
Okay.
Yeah. It was maneuvered that way. Because
now, did Rick ever play any lead instrumentals on any of these records? Because it kind of makes them out like, oh, okay.
No, every demo was click, 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 click with a rhythm ace drum machine, like on Cha Cha, Rock 1, Rock 2. The original rhythm ace that you use in a lounge had Cha Cha, waltz, slow rock.
Oh, wow. The rhythm. Okay. The rhythm.
And just eighth notes, click, click. He gave us skeletons of songs. Yeah. And essentially, Greg and I did the heavy lifting as far as like hanging meat on those bones, but as far as hooks and
arrangements
and counter lines, intros.
And that's a true collaborative. And I know we know what that means.
Yeah. It was a true collaborative that nobody ever got any publishing for. That's
what I'm getting. That's why, listen, one of the things I love about our podcast, and we are not dirt diggers and we're not politic and we don't do religion, and we're all about the good vibe. But, truth is truth. And I think it's interesting because people don't know that,
Well, it is. And I want to, finish that thought by saying I'm not at all bitter. I feel so blessed with the life I have. And I feel plenty rated, plenty recognized.
Copy that.
And very confident in what I can and can't do. And so I'm cool with all of it. This is what I wanted to do when I was a kid, and I ended up doing it. So as far as I realized my childhood dreams. And so if there's a few glitches in it, nothing's perfect.
Well, yeah. And who thought making all that money would be one of the glitches? Because you realize, God, this money is not going to make me happy here.
Yeah, that's the best thing, though, man. It makes you go figure it out.
Yeah.
It makes you figure it out, though.
Can I share something?
I hear you, man.
Can you give us a quick dissertation? I feel that, Elliot, that you're one of the first. This is a real sidebar to your career, but I just love it that you were in Creedence Clearwater Revisited. Now, folks, I just want to say, Creedence Clearwater Revisited, to me anyway, was one of the first where I became aware of what would become tribute bands or whatever they're going to be. Okay, Fogerty couldn't, so these guys are gonna. The songs are so strong, we're going to take the Revisited group since he can't, because we just want to hear these great songs. Now, what was that experience like? How long did you do it?
Well, first of all, I hesitate to call it a tribute band because half the band was in it.
No, it wasn't. It was like a precursor.
Huge part of the sound was the rhythm section. I did it for 11 years, up to 100 shows a year. We played every Indian casino, every fair, every corporate, you name it. We played it, and we played Europe several times, South America several times, Asia, Australia, New Zealand. I did that for 11 years.
That's fantastic.
That's a long time.
Was John okay?
It was a lot of fun for me because those songs like Susie Q or I Heard It Through the Grapevine or Run Through the Jungle, I could stretch out a little bit on guitar, whereas the Cars songs had these set solos.
Of course.
I wanted to play them the same every night because I knew that's what the audience wanted to, just part of the record. It's
your inner guitar guy kind of wanted to hang on that.
I felt like it was a ripoff to have someone come and not play it because you'd see the artist, oh, look, he's playing it just like the record. And it was so satisfying.
Understand that. That doesn't negate the inner guitar guy who liked it,
But I just felt like those solos were like little compositions. So
they were great.
I always just figured like the odds of me winging something that was going to be better than something I worked so hard on were really slim. So I just So I just went with the solos.
Fogerty gives you the wings to spread, and those songs you can do. Yeah.
It was fun to. I could take
now because
long solos and stuff.
Well, because you had the rhythm section of the original Creedence Clearwater, is that the way? Like, was John okay with it? John's been bugged by that kind of thing for a long time. Was he good with you?
He wasn't too great with it.
Okay.
I met John before I met those guys, so it was kind of an awkward situation because he was a little bit disappointed in me. But I don't even want to tell you. I compared notes with John Jorgensen. He was working with Elton, and we're making the same. So it was kind of like a good gig.
Yeah.
What can I say? Anyway, those guys were great to me, and it was really fun.
Great time.
I think what they worked out with John was paying like a small fee to use the name of every show, that kind of an arrangement, but it didn't stop us working.
And there was nothing competing with you guys. You were it for Creedence Clearwater catalog. You were it. If you want to hear it and see it, come see you, right? That's the way it was.
At that time, John was not playing his classic songs. He was
legally,
on a thing about not wanting to play them. So,
all right.
So we had a great singer. Wasn't that a legal
thing, y'all? Wasn't that just a fussing with the people who stole stuff from him so he cooled out?
Yeah, it was that whole trip with
It was.
Zants Can't Dance and all that business.
Yeah.
So there was that. And we had a great singer. Do you guys remember a band up from San Jose area called People? And they had a single called I Love You. I love you.
Yes.
I love you. But I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So he was the singer from People. And he was great. He was really good.
I love that recording. I think
it's a Rod Argent song.
Great.
It might be a zombie. It sounded like a zombie.
Yeah, it sounds zombie.
Yeah, I think it was.
Guys, we just saw the Zombies perform.
We were on a cruise with the Zombies.
I love being over 60.
Was Darian and them playing?
No, Darian was not there. I know, no, not at this zombie.
Yeah,
Darian from Wild Honey. Darian from
and what's her name? The keyboard player that plays with Heart sometimes.
Not Lynn.
I know you know who I mean.
Aw, dude, what are you gonna do that for?
I'm sorry, you know who I mean.
I do. You're hurting my head. All right. So
we gotta let this guy go.
Yeah, we could stay here all day. I can see that.
One
Sometimes
last thing we
is.
wanted to tell you, Elliot, was that we also worked with Jules Shears, and we recorded songs he wrote, and we noticed you had a little intersection with him also in your life. We thought that was cool. He was a real talent.
We co-wrote a lot of songs together for my record, and I played on 2 of his records. One with Todd Rundgren producing, and one with Rod Argent producing.
Hello.
Been around. And in terms of getting as Elliot says, I'm rated really good. I'm not underrated. I'm okay.
I feel rated enough. I feel rated enough.
Yeah. Nobody else has the Tiki Bird Firebird Gibson guitar. Okay, that's an Elliot guitar. Okay, no one's.
Can I tell you? I'm going to leave you with this to tell you what a nut I am.
Okay.
There's a place on the pick guard where it says, Elliot Easton, like my signature, and then there's the word model. But I didn't want them to just use a block print model. I went to this font company. I got Ratfink font. And so model is in Ratfink font. That's what
hilarious.
I think that's cool. Hey, Elliot, is there anything you want to share with our big giant 23 countrywide audience in terms of what you're up to, or are you just laying low? What's going on?
Oh gosh, well, I've been doing a lot of I just did a session for Creed Bratton from the show The Office, who was in the Grassroots.
Okay, and, great.
I've been doing a lot of fundraisers. Maybe you guys have been doing a lot of that stuff too. There's been, since COVID, there's been a lot of that kind of thing. And I played on the deck of the USS Iowa, docked in Long Beach for veterans. And one guy was getting the Medal of Honor. And that was a great band with Paul Schaefer and Joe Bonamassa, all these people. And then there's been these like VIP fundraisers for Tibet and stuff up in like Santa Barbara and Carpinteria up there and stuff.
So and beautiful up there.
Yeah. I did one with Steve Postel, and we played with Jeff Bridges and Jackson Brown and Kenny Loggins. So that was really fun. But I'm going to play some blues in a couple of weeks at the Write-Off Room with Jimmy Vivino and Barry Goldberg from the Electric Flag. So that should be fun.
That'd be great. Yeah, I got to see Jimmy at the Troubadour. Elliot was at the May Pang event at the Troubadour when we all played, and we had a blast that night.
Yeah, that sounded like a heck of a night, guys.
Jimmy did a great job together.
Fun. Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yay.
All right, Elliot. And you said Paul Schaefer. Tell him we're after him for our podcast.
Tell him he's next.
Yeah.
Okay,
all right, everybody.
Tell him Miss February asked if he'd be on her podcast. He'll know what that means.
Yeah, I'll get right on that.
Yeah, he'll know what it means.
Elliot,
he'll know what it means.
We'll be waiting to hear from you.
It was great visiting, Elliot, and all this stuff's online, guys. Go chase down. Look for anything Elliot, man.
It was an honor, Elliot. Yeah. I mean, for real. We this is a big one for me. So thanks.
Hey, Susan. Yeah, I got to tell you, Susan, hair was the hardest thing that I had to learn. That arrangement is so dense and complicated.
Well, we were very complicated children.
I mean,
I'm sitting
every 4 bars. There's another radical section. It's changed.
Dude, I don't play guitar to that. I just sit around wait for spaghetti.
I'm sitting going.
I had a blast.
Listen to that.
Bob, it was a blast to play with you.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
I loved playing with you.
All right, we have to do 2. We're not done, guys. So get out of here and come back later with the witch's broom.
Good. Thank you, Elliot. We love you, man.
Love you guys.
Elliot. Much love.
See you soon. Bye-bye.